My name is Henrietta Franks, and the date of recording is the 25th of September 2025. I'm a painter specialising mostly in oil paints, and I like to paint quite a big range of subject matter, either quite vast panoramic landscapes to more intimate scenes of musicians, and then going towards more abstract paintings to do with movement and music. I live in London now, but I grew up in Surrey, and I think growing up in a very pretty, leafy area of England definitely impacted the way I create art. A lot of my early paintings were very detailed landscapes. I was very inspired by the very still and almost eerie atmosphere of works by Martin Johnson Heade, and the sort of exacting detail with which he depicted things really appealed to me. And then growing up, going to uni in Scotland and then moving down to London for my master's, I've become a lot more influenced by urban spaces. I paint a lot more sort of scenes of musicians now, gigs that I've experienced, performances I really enjoyed. And I try to capture not just what I saw visually, but what I felt emotionally. And I like to do that by using colour and geometry very purposefully to invoke different ideas about what I saw and what I felt at a certain time. I like to think of my art practice as almost in the same way as keeping a journal. It's a way for me to process what I've experienced visually and also what I've felt emotionally. I'm not saying that it's a hard and fast record of things I've experienced, but it is a record of how I felt in a certain moment. There's a Joan Didion quote in her essay on keeping a notebook, and she is essentially saying on why she keeps a notebook. It's to remember what it was to be me, and that resonates a lot with me because every painting I feel captures who I was and how I felt in a certain moment. My biggest influences are quite diverse. I love the tonality and the themes of music and silence in Vermeer's body of works. I still love Martin Johnson Heade, as I said, and also the geometry of Cubist painters like Albert Gleizes and Picasso. Right now I'm focusing on combining both abstract and figurative elements in my art in a way that feels purposeful to me. Usually, for me, when my art gets more abstract, it becomes more of an emotional piece, whereas when it's leaning more towards realism or naturalism, it's more me. I feel more like an observer in those scenes. I love using perspective in my works because I think it feels very personal. In the works, I hope that people get the sense that they're really experiencing these scenes as me, as a 24-year-old female living in London for the first time. For me, one of the biggest challenges of being an artist is time. Art for me, although it's absolutely what I love and it's what I've been doing forever, it can feel very isolating. It's a very solitary practice. And I really do love spending that time by myself to produce a painting on a canvas. but there is something very isolated in your thoughts. It's especially when it's only you who has the vision. I also feel like there's something can feel quite neurotic about sort of documenting times of your life in paint. It's sort of a perfectionism to capture what I felt. And sometimes I think it would be easier if I just let things go a bit looser. I've always been quite traditional in terms of my mediums and techniques. I used to paint with acrylics in my teen years, and then I picked up oils in my early 20s. And I'm self-taught. I've never had a formal training in art. And so because of that, all my paintings have been very self-exploratory, not just in the content, but also in the techniques I'm using. But because I'm inspired a lot by old masters and modern painters, I love the limits and the potentials of oil as a medium, and part of what I love about my practice is experimenting with layering and using different thicknesses of paint and different colours. That's one of my absolute joys. Even though I paint a lot of scenes to do with music and musicians and performance, I actually like to paint mostly in silence. I find that music can be, unless it's very specific towards the piece I'm producing, I find that it can be a big distraction for me, especially in the early stages of a piece when I'm trying to work out a composition. I find that I really need all of my brain power to go into the work. But then later on, towards the painting stage, I can listen to music, never anything too heavy. I wouldn't listen to heavy metal, but I would maybe listen to some easy listening 70s album, something like that. The best reaction someone has had to my artwork, I can't think of a specific one, but I've really felt warm in my heart when I see someone just really closely inspecting it and spending time in front of a work. I don't expect people to completely relate to what I'm painting, but if they even relate, but I think the feelings I'm capturing are universal, and the joys of music and the joys of art and creation, I think, are universal. So if people can find something of that in my work, then that's good enough for me. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, please follow me on Instagram. My handle is Henrietta Franks _art, and I will be posting about my upcoming exhibitions and events on there. Thank you.